Imagine standing before a judge. The weight of the law is upon you. A financial penalty looms, a sum that would be difficult for anyone. But for you, it is impossible. This fine represents food, medicine, the very roof over your head. This is the precise situation a man named Michael found himself in. But what happened next was not something anyone could have predicted. It was a moment so raw, so profoundly human, that it shattered the cold, formal atmosphere of the courtroom and replaced it with something else entirely: unconditional compassion. This is the story of that day. This is the story of Chief Judge Frank Caprio and the emotional decision that would not only shock the court, but would also become a viral beacon of hope, challenging our deepest assumptions about justice, punishment, and mercy. In this comprehensive breakdown, we will dissect this unforgettable event into 5 critical, revealing layers. We will first expose the desperate, heartbreaking reality of the defendant, Michael, a man on the brink. Secondly, we will explore the foundational philosophy of Judge Caprio himself, the man behind the bench, to understand why this case was different from the very start. Third, we will witness the astonishing, unprecedented request the judge made, a move that left everyone, including the defendant, utterly stunned. Fourth, we will analyze the powerful, tangible human connection that was forged live in the courtroom, a connection that transcended the legal proceedings. And finally, we will deliver the climactic, tear-filled verdict that capped this emotional roller coaster, a ruling that was far more than a simple case dismissal. This is not just a court case. This is a masterclass in empathy. A story that proves that true strength lies not in rigid authority, but in the courage to be kind. To fully appreciate the weight of this moment, we must first understand the stage upon which it was set. The Providence Municipal Court, under the leadership of Chief Judge Frank Caprio, is a unique institution. His courtroom is filmed for the long-running television program Caught in Providence, but people do not tune in for sensationalistic drama or harsh sentences. They watch to witness Judge Caprio's unparalleled brand of empathetic jurisprudence. He operates on a fundamental belief that the law exists to serve people, not the other way around. He listens with a rare intensity. He seeks to understand the context behind every violation. He sees the human being behind the case file. On this particular day, the case seemed, on its surface, utterly routine. A defendant named Michael was present for a moving violation, a standard traffic fine. But as Judge Caprio would soon uncover, there was nothing standard about Michael's situation. The gavel had not yet fallen, but the stage was set for a collision between cold, hard law and warm, human reality. Let us now dive deep into our first major point, the devastating reality of the defendant, Michael. When he stood before the bench, his body language spoke volumes before he even uttered a word. He carried the posture of a man burdened by the world. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes downcast, his voice barely a whisper. The charge was a moving violation, and the associated fine was several $100s. For many, this is an annoyance, an unexpected dent in the monthly budget. But for Michael, as the judge would soon learn, this fine was a potential catastrophe. It was an insurmountable obstacle. When Judge Caprio, in his characteristic manner, asked if there was anything he would like to share, the floodgates opened. Michael revealed that he was not currently employed. His reason was not a lack of effort, but a profound commitment. He was a full-time, unpaid caregiver for his wife, who was severely ill. He detailed a life consumed by her care, managing complex medication schedules, assisting with daily needs, providing constant emotional support in the face of a devastating disease. There was no income. There were no savings. Every single dollar that came into their household was meticulously allocated to her treatments, their utilities, and their most basic sustenance. This proposed fine was not just a number on a piece of paper. It was a direct threat to their survival. It represented a choice between paying the court and buying his wife's medication. It was the difference between stability and utter ruin. The atmosphere in the courtroom shifted instantly. The procedural formality evaporated, replaced by a heavy, shared understanding of this man's immense struggle. You could hear a pin drop as he spoke, his vulnerability laying bare a story of love, sacrifice, and desperation. This profound vulnerability leads us directly to our second critical point, the core judicial philosophy of Judge Frank Caprio. Most judges, bound by precedent and the strict letter of the law, would have little room for maneuver. The violation occurred. The fine is set. The law is clear. But Judge Caprio has built his entire career on a different, more humane principle. He believes the law must be a flexible tool for justice, tempered with an abundance of compassion. He sees his courtroom not as a factory for processing fines, but as a potential place for problem-solving and, when warranted, for grace. He looks at a man like Michael and does not see a delinquent citizen. He sees a devoted husband. He sees a man honoring his vows in sickness and in health. He sees a person performing a noble yet exhausting duty for the person he loves most. This philosophy is not a minor character trait. It is the active lens through which he views every single case. It is the reason he digs deeper. It is the reason he asks the personal questions that other judges might skip. It is the foundational bedrock upon which the entire shocking event was about to be built. The defendant's desperate situation had been presented. The judge's compassionate philosophy was fully engaged. The conditions were perfect for something extraordinary to happen. Now we arrive at the third major point of our story, the shocking and unprecedented request that changed the entire direction of the hearing. Judge Caprio, having heard Michael's story, did not simply lean back and contemplate the fine. He did not immediately dismiss it, nor did he enforce it. Instead, he leaned forward, his expression one of deep concern and curiosity. He asked Michael for his wife's name. Then he posed the question that left everyone in the courtroom, including the bailiffs and the court reporters, momentarily stunned. He asked Michael if he would be willing to call his wife, right then and there, on the spot. He asked him to get her on the speakerphone so that he, the judge, could speak to her directly. Consider the sheer unconventionality of this request. It is a breach of standard courtroom protocol of the highest order. It is an intrusion into the most private part of a person's life. Yet, it was not done with malice or intrusion, but with an overwhelming desire to connect, to understand, to humanize the situation further. The courtroom held its collective breath. All eyes were on Michael. The pressure was immense. After a moment of hesitation, a testament to the surreal nature of the request, Michael agreed. He pulled out his phone, his hands likely trembling, and dialed the number. This single action transformed the proceeding. It was no longer just a legal hearing. It was becoming a live, unfiltered intervention into a family's personal crisis. The ringing of the phone was the only sound, a drumbeat signaling the arrival of a moment nobody would soon forget. This act perfectly demonstrates that true leadership sometimes involves breaking protocol to serve a higher purpose, humanity itself. This leads us into our fourth key point, the profound and powerful human connection that was forged in real time over that speakerphone. Michael's wife answered. Her voice was weak, filtered through the phone's speaker, but her presence was immediately felt by everyone in the room. Judge Caprio introduced himself not with the stern authority of a judge, but with the gentle respect of a concerned neighbor. Hello, this is Chief Judge Frank Caprio, calling from the Providence Municipal Court, he began, his tone soft and reassuring. He immediately put her at ease. Your husband is here with me today, but I want you to know he is not in any trouble. He then proceeded to do something remarkable. He began to praise her husband to her. He told her what a good man Michael was. He spoke of his devotion and his obvious love for her. He gently explained the situation with the traffic ticket, but he was quick to pivot to reassurance. He emphasized that the court understood their difficult circumstances. He highlighted that Michael's primary concern, his only real worry, was for her well-being and her health. The emotion in his wife's voice was palpable. She confirmed the harsh reality Michael had described. You could hear the strain of her illness, but also a wave of overwhelming gratitude that a figure of authority was showing them such kindness. In that moment, something magical happened. The formal barriers of the courtroom, the bench, the robes, the official procedures melted away. What remained was a pure three-way human connection between a judge offering compassion, a husband standing in devotion, and a wife receiving support from an entirely unexpected place. The legal case had become entirely secondary. The docket number was irrelevant. This was now about one family's struggle and the unexpected angel who stepped in to lighten their load, if only for a moment. It was a testament to the power of simply seeing someone, hearing someone, and acknowledging their pain. This brings us to the climax of our story, the fifth and most powerful point, the emotional verdict and its stunning delivery. The phone call concluded with well wishes and a heartfelt thank you from Michael's wife. The line went dead. A deep, heavy, and resonant silence descended upon the courtroom. It was a silence filled with emotion, with anticipation, with the shared experience of what had just transpired. Every single person present was invested. All eyes were locked on Judge Caprio. What would he do? He possessed the full power of the court to enforce the law and collect the fine. He also possessed the discretion to show mercy. The entire proceeding hung in the balance. Judge Caprio took a long, slow breath. He looked down at his notes, then back up at Michael. Those watching closely could see his eyes glistening, threatening to spill over with tears. The weight of the decision was visible on his face. This was not a simple administrative choice. This was a moral one. He cleared his throat, fighting back the emotion. Then he spoke his ruling. His voice was firm, yet layered with profound feeling. "Sir," he began, "this case is dismissed. The fine was waived completely, 100%, $0 owed. But the ruling did not end there. The dismissal was merely the legal conclusion. The true verdict was in the words that followed." Judge Caprio then offered a personal blessing. He expressed his sincere hope that Michael's wife would recover. He acknowledged the immense difficulty and the sacred nobility of Michael's role as a caregiver. He validated his sacrifice and his love. The emotional weight of this complete package, the dismissal, the blessing, the validation, was utterly overwhelming. Michael, who had stood so stoically, finally broke down, his body shuddering with relief and gratitude. He struggled to compose himself, uttering a choked, "Thank you, Your Honor." Around the room, court staff were visibly moved, discreetly wiping tears from their eyes. The shock that rippled through the court was not one of outrage, but of awe. Judge Caprio had weaponized his compassion, and the result was more powerful than any punishment could ever be. Let us now take a brief moment to synthesize the 5 critical layers we have just explored in great detail. First, we had the defendant's desperate situation, a portrait of a man on the financial and emotional brink. Second, we examined Judge Caprio's unique philosophy of compassionate justice, the essential precondition for everything that followed. Third, we witnessed the shocking request, the phone call that broke protocol and built a bridge to a suffering family. Fourth, we felt the power of the human connection that was created live in the courtroom, a moment of shared humanity that transcended the law. And fifth, we experienced the climax, the emotional, tearful, and profoundly merciful verdict that dismissed the case and lifted a burden. This was not a simple legal transaction. It was a demonstration that authority, when wielded with empathy, can heal rather than harm. Now let us conclude by examining the powerful universal lesson we can all carry away from this unforgettable day in court. So what is the ultimate synthesizing takeaway from Judge Caprio's shocking and emotional decision? It is a powerful reminder that true, meaningful justice cannot be blind. It must, in fact, see. It must see the context. It must understand the struggle. It must acknowledge the humanity of every single person who stands before it. The law, in its pure black and white text, provides a necessary framework for society. But it is empathy, compassion, and humanity that give that framework a soul. Judge Caprio demonstrated in this single act that the greatest power one can wield from a position of authority is not the power to punish, but the power to uplift. He could have mechanically processed the case and collected a fine that would have pushed a struggling family deeper into despair. Instead, he chose to give them something infinitely more valuable: hope. He gave them financial relief. He gave them emotional validation. He gave them the powerful knowledge that they had been seen and understood by a system that often feels cold and impersonal. This entire story leaves us with one profound, ultimate question to ponder long after this video has ended. If you were placed in a position of power, whether as a manager, a parent, a leader, or a community figure, would you have the courage to be as compassionate? When faced with a choice between the strict, unyielding rulebook and the nuanced beating heart of a human situation, which path would you choose? The easy path is often to enforce the rules without question. The harder, more courageous path is to look beyond the infraction and see the person, to temper justice with mercy, and to use your power not to crush, but to lift. The legacy of this case is not a legal precedent. It is a challenge to all of us to incorporate more empathy into our own daily judgments. Now we turn the conversation over to you, the viewer. This story is meant to provoke thought and discussion. What is your verdict on Judge Caprio's actions? Was this a dangerous miscarriage of justice that sets a bad precedent? Or was it, in your opinion, the purest form of justice being served? We genuinely want to hear your perspective. The comments section is open for your reasoned debates and personal reflections. Let us know what you think down below. And if this story of profound compassion resonated with you, your journey into the world of empathetic justice does not have to end here. We have selected another incredible case for you to watch next. It is the story of a single mother who faced eviction from her home all because of an unpaid parking ticket. You will not believe how Judge Caprio intervened, blending the law with life-changing compassion once again. The video is waiting for you on screen now. Click, watch, and continue to be inspired. Thank you for watching.